G'day viewers, this is Troy from Troy's Digital Arts channel. In the past I've been doing a number of chroma-key videos using my big blue fabric chroma-key backdrop, and yeah, it worked alright as a chroma-keyer, and it works good. It worked good with some cameras but not good with others. Anyways, I'm now prospecting a green chroma-key backdrop, which I'm using green cardboard paper I bought from K-Mart for I think $1.50 each per sheet of green cardboard paper. Anyways, yeah, I bought 4 sheets of the stuff, and I've sticky taped and glued them together onto a wooden board, and yeah, I'm going to see how well it works as a chroma-key backdrop. Anyways, as you can currently see on the backdrop, it doesn't look quite perfect because of the fact that it's 4 sheets stuck together, and you can pretty much see some of the seams, particularly the horizontal seam. When I was gluing and sticking it together, it was I was trying to seal it together so the seams don't show, but you can sort of see the seam, which you can see the glue marks, and in some areas there's a bit of a sheen to it as well, and also over here you can see there's actually smudged a bit of glue onto that area, and there's a bit of a sheen there as well. Don't know how that's going to work out when I do the chroma keying in Pinnacle Studio or Adobe Premiere, but hopefully with a bit of luck they may not show up. But anyway, this is a trial run I'm doing with a few selected cameras for this green chroma key backdrop. We'll see how it all works out. Currently I'm using my modern Panasonic mid-90s era CCD camcorder. I forget the model number, but I'll just have a quick look at the model number. Yeah, it's an NV-RX3 model. But anyways, yeah, I'm going to now switch on chroma key, well, post-production of course, but at the click of the fingers, on goes the chroma key. Anyways, yeah, this is the first camera I'm using. As you can see, I've got a whole bunch of different videos, pictures, etc. being keyed into this green backdrop. I don't know how it's going to turn out, of course, but you'll know once the final product has been done, which is long after I make this video, of course. But yep, I've got a bunch of videos, pictures, etc., etc. keyed into the backdrop while I'm talking about me chroma key experiments. But yeah, speaking about what I can see on the TV screen, the green backdrop actually looks pretty much a bit faded on the TV screen. It doesn't look as rich green as I can see with the naked eye. It actually looks kind of like a lighted, a kind of very a much lighter kind of green. So yeah, I don't know if that's going to inhibit the results, but we'll see what happens. But anyways, yeah, with this RX3, yeah, can't really think much more to say, but anyway, this is the first camera on test. Anyway, yeah, I'm now going to switch over to another camera. Just trying to think which one will probably be best to test with next. I'm going to sort of go chronologically backwards in time with camera technology. Thinking of a camera from the 80s I might try out. I think I might try out the National Panasonic WVP-100N camera and see how that works out with this chroma-key backdrop. So, on to the next camera, which is the one I mentioned. Okay, here I am on my 1984 National WVP-100N saticon tube colour camera, doing the chroma key test with a green backdrop. As mentioned in the last video done on my Panasonic CCD camcorder made in the mid-90s, the green backdrop looked pretty kind of like lighted and a bit dull in saturation. Well, on this more vintage camera, the green actually looks so much more richer than that of the more modern CCD camera, which is pretty cool. So yeah, the green backdrop has a very nice, richly saturated green coming from this camera. Just looking at the TV screen right now. The seams still look quite noticeable, and some of the bits do shine as well. But yeah, hopefully they might somehow be keyed out. But anyway, yeah, talking about this camera makes not bad pictures. I've actually adjusted it so it makes the best possible quality pictures. I've had a bit of this camera does have a bit of troubles making proper flesh tones when the color settings at halfway between red and blue. Basically, I do a white balance on it's got a white balance adjuster on it. I do a white balance, and the flesh tones seem to come up a bit more kind of crimsony, kind of crimson magenta-ish. Like reds will look like magentas instead of reds. But anyway, I've adjusted the red-blue adjustment more towards red to get the flesh tones looking a lot better. So the reds look a bit more redder, and the greens still look nice and green, but it's kind of at a cost on the blues, because the blues will probably look a bit more towards the green than looking blue. Although I notice when I pick up a blue object, it still looks quite blue. Anyway, I'll switch the red-blue adjustment over to the halfway points, and as you can see, the flesh tones look a little bit more towards the crimson magenta region. But yeah, of course, the blues will look a little bit more bluish. That's from what I've observed when using this camera to do some general filming. But I notice it looks a lot better when you've got a lot more light. So yeah, I kind of wonder about its performance based off different lightings. Anyway, just to get the flesh tones back a little bit. There we go. Anyway, I'm quite impressed with how good the green looks on this camera. Oh, another thing to mention too, the cyclorama light is a bit to the right, so hence you're going to see a bit of shadow happening a bit to the left of me. Well, looking from the camera's point of view to the right, more so. Anyway, just looking around for something colourful to pick up to see how it looks on this camera. I'm still curious about how the blues actually will look. Actually, the blue is still quite good. Yeah, just picking up another object that's got blue on it. So, yeah, when this camera's set up with decent light, you get quite a nice picture out of it. Anyway, yeah, the chroma key is now switched on. Well, in post-production I've already switched it on while I was talking a little bit earlier. Anyway, yeah, as mentioned, got a bunch of videos, pictures, etc. chroma keyed into the backdrop. And yeah, I reckon this chroma key test with this camera will yield better results than that of the Panasonic CCD, but then again I can only tell when I'm actually doing this in post-production. But of course the final video you'll be seeing the results anyways. But anyway, yeah, this is the chroma key test with the National WVP-100N saticon tube colour camera made around 1984. So now I'm going to move on to an earlier camera. The next camera I have in mind is a Sharp XC54, which it's a newvicon tube camera and a half-inch newvicon tube. It is quite a compact sort of camera. The colours are a bit dull on it, but otherwise it makes quite a decent picture in good lighting. But anyway, onto the Sharp XC54 camera. Okay, here I am on my Sharp XC54 compact half-inch newvicon tube colour camera made around 1983-84, somewhere around then. Yeah, this camera is a very compact sort of camera, pretty much as compact as a 90s CCD camera, and it's pretty much, yeah, the camera itself is pretty small, and you got the handle with sticking down below. So yeah, quite a compact camera for its era. Anyway, the pictures of course look inferior to that of the more bigger saticon tube cameras and the 230-inch newvicon tube cameras. Yeah, the colour looks kind of washed out. I'm not sure if it was like that when the camera was first made and the tube's just pretty much worn down, but anyways, in good lighting, this is about as good as the colour gets. I of course in post-production can ramp up the colour to a better level of saturation. Anyhow, about the chroma key, well, the green backdrop pretty much looks the same as that on the 90s Panasonic CCD camera, the Panasonic NV-RX3. So yep, similar look to that, and of course, but I look, pretty much a bit washed out in terms of contrast and colour. But otherwise, it's not too bad a picture. But anyway, yeah, as mentioned, having the chroma key on, I've got pictures and videos playing on the backdrop. And yeah, while I talk about this camera. Anyway, this camera is I occasionally use it from time to time. I don't know, I don't really use it that often, but yeah, I remember using this camera about 10 years ago when I made my very first car cam video. I've made a few car cam videos in recent years and stuck them to YouTube, but yeah, I made my very first one way back in 2003 using this very camera, and yeah, it worked alright, although the seat was shaking and of course the picture was very jittery. But anyway, this camera is a nice little camera and very handy to use for mobile usage. Yeah, not much more to talk about with this camera, so I'm going to now select another camera for the chroma-key test. I think now I'll use my vintage 1980 era Sony trinicon tube camera. I kind of forget what the model name is, but I'll tell you once I get it all hooked up. Anyway, onto the Sony camera. Okay, here I am on my vintage 1980 Sony HVC-3000P trinicon tube colour camera. Yes, when it comes to rich colours, this camera is pretty much the winner of colour cameras made back in the very early 80s era. Yeah, of course Sony, they were top-notch brands, so hence they come up with the top-notch elite colour video cameras of the time. About the only other colour camera that actually matches up well in terms of colour richness is the Hanimex VC600-P. But anyways, yeah, this Sony camera, I've tweaked the adjustments to get the most optimum brightly lit colour picture, and for the best saturation on the green backdrop. So as you can see, I've got a nice rich, very rich green colour, which is how I like it. And of course the flesh tones on myself look quite good, nice and rich, and the colours look very nice and rich, as I've stated with this camera. Very good camera. Actually, it's one of my favourites when it comes to doing very retro looking colour videos with decent saturation. Anyway, yeah, as mentioned, I've got videos, pictures keyed into the background, and yeah, as I mentioned, I don't know how it's going to turn out until I do the post-production editing. As seen, of course, the seams still appear very prominent, and there's a bit of sheen on some areas where I've done a bit of gluing and where I've smudged the glue. So it wouldn't surprise me if they do show up in post-production. Anyway, talking about this camera, yeah, these particular cameras were pretty much they use a single colour trinicon tube, and like with single tube colour cameras, they pretty much got red, green, blue stripes on the tube itself, which of course the trade-off is with these single tube colour cameras is you've got a cost of picture resolution. So the actual picture resolution looks about a third of that of a black and white camera in terms of horizontal resolution or vertical resolution. So hence I can see on the TV screen a little bit of pixelation, particularly at the edges of of objects and all that. But anyway, that's what I noticed. I noticed particularly when I up the sharpness of the picture as well. That's where you pretty much notice the lower resolution of these cameras. I'll see if I can find the sharpness setting. Somewhere on here, I think it's on the back of the camera. If memory serves me right. Yep. So I've now jacked up the sharpness to its maximum sharpness, and yeah, you can really notice the fact that these cameras are of a bit lower resolution. The sharpness sort of shows that the fine details that, you know, there's a little bit of yeah, I guess pixelation. But anyway, apart from that, these cameras make very good pictures for their time in terms of colour. And yeah, this is, like as mentioned, this is one of my favourite cameras. Anyway, I'm getting a little bit lost in myself in talking about this camera, but anyway, I quite like how it looks with the chroma key. Nice rich green colours, and yeah. Anyway, not really much more to talk about with this camera. I'm now going to move on to a camera made a bit earlier, which is my 1979 Hanimex VC600-P vidicon tube striped colour camera, which is pretty much of similar nature to this camera. Anyway, onto that camera. Okay, here I am on my vintage Hanimex VC600-P colour stripe vidicon tube colour camera, doing the chroma key test with it. Yeah, this like the Sony camera. This camera is makes a beautiful colour picture. The colours are very nice. The only thing is due to the fact that the camera's colour striped, there's a bit of a division in resolution. Well, at least that's what at least that's what I think, anyways. So yeah, you get a bit of a lower resolution picture, and the sharpness of the picture is not as good as that on a black and white tube camera. But anyway, yeah, this camera is one of my favourite colour cameras. I take it out everywhere and do a bit of filming here and there with it. Now, the one drawback I really notice with this camera is when I have the camera zoomed out, the picture is a bit defocused and a bit blurry. Yeah, I'd put it down to a back focus issue. Not sure if that's came of with age of this camera or not, but yeah, I guess there must. I don't know if there is a back focus adjustment in it, but yeah, I guess if I were to somehow rack the tube back or forward a bit, I get a bit better focusing. But anyway, yeah, looking on the TV screen, yeah, the green looks very nice on this camera. Nice rich green colour. Yeah, the flash tones look pretty good, although a little bit jaunty, I guess. But apart from that, reasonably good. And of course, the colours come up very nicely, as seen. When I stick some colour objects in front of the camera. This camera, being a vidicon tube camera, tends to be a bit more prone to image lag. So as I move from side to side, see a bit of after image persistence, which is also termed as lagging. If I stay in one spot for a bit and then I move out of the way, you see a bit of a ghost of my face. It's quite a cool effect. And if it weren't for that, you probably would not know that this is a very old camera, because the pictures come up quite nicely, well, apart from the bit lower resolution in terms of sharpness. Anyway, I know I've done a bit of chroma-key testing with this camera using the blue backdrop, and the results weren't really that crash hot when I did the post-production editing and try to key in backgrounds. But I have a good feeling that with this green backdrop the results will be a lot better. Plus, with this green backdrop, it's a lot more richer than the blue backdrop I used. The blue backdrop, the blue fabric's a bit, a little bit more towards the navy blue instead of bright blue, so hence, you don't get a very good blue key out of it. Anyway, we'll see how this goes in post-production editing. And of course, as mentioned, got videos and pictures keyed into the backdrop. Anyway, I'm going to now move to the oldest working colour camera I have, well, that works with good colour, and that's my 1978 JVC GC-3300E, E or U I think it is, no, it's E, 3300E 2 vidicon tube colour camera. Anyway, time to switch over to that camera. Okay, here I am on my oldest good working colour video camera. Yes, my 1978 JVC GC-3300E 2 vidicon tube colour camera. Yeah, this camera uses two vidicon tubes, one that's colour striped for the colour pickup, and one black and white vidicon tube for luminance pickup, which the combination of the two bring out the best in the both worlds, for both good colour and good sharpness. And yeah, the picture of course is much more better in sharpness than that of the Sony and the Hanimex tube colour cameras that use a single stripe colour tube. Anyway, yeah, this camera makes mostly a good picture. The only thing is unfortunately with the green, as you can see, there is a bit of it looks like there's a bit of an issue with the green pickup. As you can see, the green looks good in one area of the picture, but looks rather dull in the rest of the area of the picture. So hence the green backdrop looks good in one area, but mostly rather dull in the other area, like in similar nature to the first camera I used, the Panasonic NV-RX3. But yeah, this I guess is probably due to the age of the camera. I mean, it's made around about 1978, probably even 1977, somewhere around there. So hence, yeah, expect there to be some deterioration with these older cameras. But anyway, other than that, it's making a nice, beautiful picture. And yeah, I've just tweaked it to get the most optimum colour performance. Of course, it's got its inherent artifacts, which pretty much, from from an artistic point of view look pretty cool. But anyway, yeah, just got a bunch of objects to stick in front of the camera. As seen, the reds come up quite nicely. The reds, the yellows. Yeah, the pictures are kind of reddish. Of course, I've adjusted it so the reds come up reasonably rich. As seen with the greens come up dull and dull around most of the area where the camera's filming, but come up good in one particular spot, as seen. Dull over here, good over there. Just picking up random objects I've got sitting on my table. They're quite colourful. Yeah, my lucky good luck balloon given to me when I resigned from my previous job 4 years ago. Still got it, and it's still got its air. Has not deflated at all. Oh yes, with these old tube cameras, you got the vidicon tube cameras and saticons and whatever. You got the comet tailing effect. When you got shiny, when you got bright light reflecting off it. And of course, as mentioned, got me videos and pictures keyed into the background, into the green backdrop. I'm sort of a bit ho-hum where how it's going to all turn out, of course, particularly with this green issue. Yeah, don't know if there's much more to say on this camera, but it's, yeah, pretty good for a camera that's about 35 years old. I love using it from time to time. I've used it recently to make my psychedelic liquid light show videos, as I thought it was best for the job to give them to give those light shows the very retro-y sort of look. Yeah. Anyway, this is not the last camera I'm going to use for this chroma-key test. The final camera I'm going to use is my latest camera that I bought from Dick Smith, my Samsung HMX-F80 high definition CCD digital camcorder. Obviously the greens are going to come up very nicely on that camera, and yeah, I'm going to obviously get the best results with it with the green screen chroma key. Anyway, onto me modern CCD camcorder. Okay, here I am on my final camera for this green chroma key backdrop test. Yes, I'm using my latest Samsung HMX-F80 high definition CCD camcorder, and of course I've got it set to, I haven't got it set on widescreen because I've done all the other videos with 4:3 ratio cameras, so I thought I'd do the final video with the modern camcorder in 4:3 standard instead of 16:9. Plus also this backdrop pretty much is near 4:3 ratio as well. Anyway, yeah, so yeah, this is the final camera for the night. Of course, with this CCD camera, you pretty much, I'm guessing I'll probably get the best results because of the pristine picture quality. I noticed when I looked at the viewfinder, however, the green does not quite look as rich as that on one of the older couple of the older tube cameras, but it looks quite good otherwise. Anyway, yep, as mentioned, I've got videos, pictures keyed into the background. Don't know how they're going to go due to the imperfections of this backdrop, but yeah, I'll find out in post-production editing. Anyway, yeah, this is my new CCD camcorder that I got. I've been pretty much using it the most lately because it's, you know, handy. You can take it anywhere. You don't have to power it up by an AC source. You can just point and shoot, and it's a pretty mad camera. I mean, I got it on special for $128, marked down from about, I think, $218. It's got a lot of cool features with it. It's got like a bunch of different colour settings. You can set to sepia, black and white, a few different colour tones. You can do time-lapse video recording on it. And I've done some cool time lapses of the clouds and a bunch of other natural phenomena, and yeah, this camera's got incredible optical zoom range, 52 times optical zoom. I can pretty much from Mount Kera Lookout zoom right in on one of the cargo ships out at sea, and the cargo ship nearly fills the viewfinder from all the way up Mount Kera Lookout. And yeah, I can zoom in on the moon with this camera. And the moon pretty much fills the viewfinder screen, and you can see it in all its glory with its craters and ridges and everything. It's a really cool camera, and I'm glad that I decided to buy it when it was on special, even though it was a bit over my budget range. But yeah, I've been having a lot of fun with this camera, doing some zoom in shoots of various places. From Mount Kera, I've had a lot of fun zooming in on areas of Wollongong and Fig Tree and all the suburbs around the Illawarra. I've zoomed in on Westfield Fig Tree, zoomed in on the lighthouses down at Wollongong Harbour, zoomed in on the buildings, zoomed in on Mount Ousley Road, zoomed in on the control tower, the TV repeater towers up on Broker's Nose and Knight's Hill. Zoom, pretty much, yeah, you have a lot of fun zooming in on distant places, distant objects, and whatever else with this camera. Yeah, I can do so much with this camera. So yeah, I totally love it. Well, anyway, getting back to the chroma-key thing, well, we'll see how it all goes in post-production editing. If this chroma-key backdrop is a flop due to its imperfections, such as the seams on it and the reflection of the glue's sheen and all that sort of thing, if it all turns out to be a failure, what I'll do is I'll buy a green piece of fabric and stick it over this board, and it should, yeah, work a lot better. But anyway, I'm sort of hoping to use this in place of the big blue backdrop, because it's just big and cumbersome, and it's just hard to find a decent place to stick it, and I'm very reluctant to get out of the garage and stick it in my bedroom. And then again, it's useful to have a big backdrop for if you want to do wider angle shots and all that sort of thing. But for a basic presentation purpose, a backdrop like this, of this size, is probably, sufficient. Anyhow, yeah, this is my grain chroma-key test, and yeah, I hope it all turns out good. Anyways, hope you enjoy this chroma-key test video with various different color cameras of various different technologies from various different eras. Anyway, this is Troy from Troy's Visual Arts channel, signing out.